right, so we're back on the air. Now we've actually
Back.
doing it by Zoom.
Yeah, we are.
Um,
So
so
now our limited audience can watch me drink some coffee.
so where are you? I'll join you with my perfect coffee.
Nice. I have this
Where
little,
are you right now?
Mount Shasta. I'm soaking in a lot of enjoyments up here, but of course I miss the people I love. Lived there for a long time. I was home. All right, I have something really fun to show you that I just like when I moved up here, I unpacked everything in 3 days and just
Right.
busted ass with my wife. But one of my favorite things to do is setting up my bookcase and putting some things on display. I'm really good at that. I have this attention to detail around little things like that. So
You're
I'm
ADD.
OCD.
OCD.
Yeah, OCD, right.
Right.
And you're ADD. That's
What?
why you couldn't remember it, right?
Well,
Yeah. Somebody's ADD. And I put this up on my bookcase with my movies. So it's leaning up against my movies.
oh, cool.
Recognize this.
Yeah. Yeah, baby.
Right?
The Blockbuster membership card.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought it was funny that
That's
I
a
still
good
have
callback.
it. Good callback. Yeah.
I remember that was like the Friday night you'd go wander around Blockbuster and see what was new. And
Well, for 20 years, this was probably one of the essential things that people had in their wallet.
yeah.
You know?
And then Netflix messed it all up. So you could
Right.
then you'd start getting the red envelope and they'd sit on your tabletop.
Did Netflix start before Redbox?
Yeah.
Which one started first? Okay,
Netflix was first.
I didn't transition to Netflix for a while, but I would only get old movies that I couldn't find anywhere else. I'm like, oh man, they have this crazy.
Right, because it was weird, obscure
They
movies.
were pretty cool when they came around.
Yeah.
They still do that, right? You can still sign on to get movies sent to you, right?
You can. It costs a bit more, but you can still get movies sent to you. And I'm like, why? But that's a great idea to just,
Right. Yeah, I did Redbox pretty often because it was $1. It's just $1, and if there was a box at work or you worked close, you just take it back the next day you went in.
You know what's weird is it's not as gratifying owning a file of a movie as it is owning the DVD.
I don't like it that
DVD,
I own movies on Amazon, and I look and I'm like, I don't have the time. I like looking it on my shelf. I told you I watched Stir Crazy this week. It's my favorite Gene Wilder movie, and I own it on Amazon. But I love it so much. I wish I had a copy of it.
You're like, give me the DVD.
Right.
I was thinking about that for Galaxy Quest. I was like, I could buy it online or I could own it. And I'm like, I want the physical box. I want to look at it. I want to, It's like ownership. That's the difference between the virtual and having and it's stupid. I threw out a bunch of DVDs. I got rid of a bunch of CDs, but then I just realized I still want that case.
Right.
Yeah,
I started this job up here, and some of the work trucks that I'm using have they're from the 80s, and they have these old cassette tapes. And I was like, damn, I wish I had some old Dylan cassettes. I plugged that in as opposed to trying to find good music on the radio,
My first car had an 8-track tape player, which was old then, and I found a guy who could record records to 8-track, which is really weird. And they would break at the wrong point, but I had all these. I had these weird old 70s 8-tracks, but I had recorded music that I liked on it, like Foreigner and Boston and all that shit. And it's I had Rush 2112 got stuck in my 8-track tape player. And it was just funny because it would break at the wrong point because it was an 8-track. It was made for the length of the tracks. So in the middle of the song, it would go chunk. It was weird. Funny.
And you almost listen to the songs, you kind of anticipate when it's going to happen.
Here comes the break. Yeah, and the break is.
I had Billy Joel's album Glass Houses, and I had it on cassette tape, but it was mixed wrong. And so the songs weren't in the right order. And so for years and years and years, that was how I heard them. And then when I heard the album the right way, I was like, where the fuck, why is this not, this is
the song's in the wrong, it's the wrong place. Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah, that's when actually people made an album to have a flow to it, and they would go from one, it's I'm taking you to a dark place, or I'll take you, on this road. And
I'm gonna forever be an album guy. I was listening to Waylon Jennings albums this week. It's I'm not going to listen to the essentials. I want to hear the album.
Right.
At a particular point in time. It's just like a movie. It's like a particular statement that's trying to be made, and
Well, the
don't
ties
think.
us into what we're talking about. Paul Thomas Anderson and the Magnolia soundtrack is an album by Amy Mann, and it's great. You gotta I
That
don't know. Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, that whole album is great. She's married to Michael Penn, Sean Penn's oldest brother.
That's right. So we get back to
Yeah.
Sean Penn. You make everything. You're like you have 7 degrees of Sean Penn, not Kevin Bacon.
No, but Michael Penn worked with. He actually is in Boogie Nights. Remember when Dirk Diggler goes into the recording studio to make an album?
Uh-huh.
The,
Oh
the
yeah, it's
guy
like
that's the guy that's the producer is Michael Penn. So he's
Michael
close
Penn.
friends with Paul Thomas Anderson and Amy Mann. They're all close friends.
Michael Penn wrote Romeo and Black Jeans, which I always liked.
Me too. That's
And
called No Myth.
No Myth. That's the
Yeah.
album, No Myth.
The
Okay.
name of the album is it's
Oh,
not called.
Romeo and Black Jeans is No Myth.
Yeah. Romeo and Black Jeans is a line from the song No Myth, right? What's the name of that album? March. It's called March.
March. He opened up for Amy Mann, and I had no idea they were married. And he opened up for him, and I was like, "That's weird that he opened up for her." And I was like, then I did my research, and I was like, "Oh, okay, he's not just Sean Penn's brother. He's
No, he's talented. He's
yeah,
he's a good songwriter. I saw him live. There's a great concert venue in Arlington, Virginia called the Birchmere, and it's like mostly where like troubadours play, like more country and folky. And so like Emmylou Harris or Dolly Parton would play there versus playing at like some other arena in the city. And I saw him there, and he had played an acoustic set. It was great.
Lou Harris is great.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
That's
She's top
cool. That's
shelf.
cool that you saw him there. I saw him in a small venue because it was, I think it was Amy Mann's Christmas show. Amy Mann, I love her. She's great.
Yeah, she has great albums. She's awesome. She's awesome.
I'm with Stupid is a good album. That's a funny album.
I'm thinking of the one that has the stars. It almost looks like a different version of the Starry Starry Night.
Is that the
Can't remember
one
that.
arm? No, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, then there's Bachelor Number Two. That's her probably her best album.
Yeah.
The green one with the parakeet on it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's funny. I used to go to her Christmas show, and Patton Oswalt would open up for her. And that's how I found out about Patton
That's a
Oswalt.
great combination.
Yeah, he would do this Patton Oswalt thing. And then one time she had a female comedian open up for her. And then the woman said, well, Amy doesn't like to talk, so I'm going to do all of her talking for her. So she was like saying all this random shit and pretending it was Amy Mann saying it. Was really funny. And
That's funny.
They were just busting up on stage.
Well, I'm sure it must be fun to hang out with Paul Thomas Anderson or be at his house because he's married to Maya Rudolph, who is definitely one of the funniest women
She's
to
so funny.
ever come out of Saturday Night Live.
Do you ever watch the show? What was the one about teen angst? It's the cartoon Big Mouth. Did you ever watch
No.
Big Mouth? Dude,
No.
she's hilarious in Big Mouth. She plays
Really?
a hormone monster, and she's like, "I'm a hormone monster. I'm gonna make you do weird things." It's really funny.
She's got cameos in a couple of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies. She's in Inherent Vice. My wife liked that show. What's that one about, like the afterlife? It's with Ted Danson.
Yeah,
that one called?
the
Good Place, right?
Yeah,
She's on that, and I would just like periodically walk in the living room, and I would like, if it was a scene with her, I would watch
Maya
it.
Rudolph,
She's
yeah.
funny.
She's really funny.
Yeah.
All right, so do you want to get into? Do we have any news? There was some stuff. I mean, COVID type news. There's a bunch of stuff going on.
Not any. I don't have any news. I just have excitement that some movies are going to start coming out that I want to see. Like, I'm going to see the blockbuster Wonder Woman 2. Like, that's my wife's favorite superhero. She loves Wonder Woman because she grew up with the TV show. What was that actress's name?
Linda Carter.
Linda Carter. Yeah. So she grew up with like Linda Carter, and she loved that stuff. So we'll see that, and then I'm looking forward to the Top Gun 2 movie, mostly because Jennifer Connelly's in it.
Isn't that called Bottom Gun? It's like
It's probably good. It's probably not going to be
porno.
great.
That's the porno. Sorry.
Oh, is it? Okay.
No,
All
I'm
right.
just kidding.
I wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Those
Never
dude,
saw a porno.
those parody pornos on movies are the worst pornos,
They're the
dude.
worst.
There's a
They're the
reason you watch
worst.
porn, and it's not for that.
It's
So
like that's
I
funny.
really don't.
It actually
Sometimes
makes you less excited. You're like, oh God,
yeah.
I feel
Like they took way
bad
too
about
much time to have this come out way too crappy.
it. Right? Except for Spaceballs, that was a great one.
I don't think I've ever seen any of the ones like Goodwill Humping or like whatever that, I don't know, Shaw Dick
No,
Redemption or
Spaceballs
something.
was
Like,
really
I
by
don't know.
Spaceballs was by Mel Brooks. It was not a porno.
Oh, yeah. That one's great. That one's great. Yeah. That one's great. I thought you were talking about a porno Spaceballs. I'm like, I'm sure there is one.
I know.
I'm sure there is.
Like the Disney movie, The Black Hole, once got taken in a raid because they thought it was a porno, but it was actually the movie The Black Hole. It was about a black hole.
Right.
They're like, oh, this has got to be a porn.
Right.
So
I always thought Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison was about anal. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you know what? You might want to not say anal.
Not on this podcast.
I'm just saying that's probably not. Do you want to rephrase that? We'll just cut that out completely.
Final answer.
I'm getting that.
Cares?
That one.
So yeah, we're talking about Punch Drunk Love today, and we're going to talk about Uncut Gems, right? Because we're going to talk about these obscure Adam Sandler performances. These
good Adam Sandler performances.
Well, come on, dude. You might be a little older. Dude,
I'm not an Adam Sandler fan.
Adam Sandler's a god to men of my generation. All right, like
he's not funny. He's got a lot of not funny movies out there.
Dude, all of his movies are funny.
Grown Ups is terrible. All the last.
You're telling me Ben Stiller and fucking Happy Gilmore, when he's doing that, is the fucking guy who's gonna.
That was the last funny movie that Adam Sandler made. He's only good in dramas now.
Just for like a cheap thrill, like watching with my wife, we rewatched the one he did with Jennifer Aniston. Was it Just Go With It? That one's funny. It's good. It's like they're good. Like there's some that are rewatchable, but yeah, they're never going to be as great. They're never going to be as great as these ones.
50 First Dates is okay.
Yeah.
Because Drew Barrymore.
You like her a lot. Yeah.
I like her. I think she's funny.
Yeah. So Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison are classics, dude. Classics.
Yes, I will give you that.
And then the other ones that are some of the other, I didn't like The Waterboy.
Big Daddy was terrible.
Big Daddy's overrated.
Terrible.
But you know what one is really funny? Little Nicky, dude. Little Nicky.
I didn't like it.
Is so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious.
I don't know. Agree to disagree.
There's this, what I like about his like generic comedy movies, because they're not generic, but they're like he has his own style.
Mainstream
is the little like characters that show up for like a minute or two. So, for example, in Little Nicky, there's this
Waterboy.
No, I don't like Waterboy very much, but I do like the scene with the guy with the Ablum Dubligata. That whole scene is hilarious.
You can do it. That's the character you like.
Yeah.
You can do it.
No, that was said so many times when I was in sixth grade. That, like everybody said that.
You can do it.
Yeah. His movies were cultural things, for kids my age.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I
got raised on.
I just didn't like
Ren and Stimpy, South Park, The Simpsons, Adam Sandler, and like the that cast of like kind of like right before Will Ferrell started in Saturday Night Live, like all the way through.
Well, I agree with you up to the point that I think that he's done some good stuff and he's done some terrible stuff. It's just for me, I just run totally hot and cold. Like I was
really disappointed with.
I like Billy Madison. I liked there was movies he did that I liked, but then the ones I don't like, I'm just like, what a waste. I mean, how much like he's hiring his friends, and it seems like it's being written on the fly while they're on vacation, and it's just so.
Right.
It's not a good movie made. But which brings me to why I love him so much in Punch Drunk Love, which is a great movie. So
top 10 romance film for me. Top 10
So
romance
great.
film.
So I'm going to let you go into Punch Drunk Love. I think a lot of people have seen it, but if you haven't seen it, go ahead and
Yeah.
give the rundown of it.
So it's Paul Thomas Anderson, it's Emma Watson, and it's Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Such a
Philip
funny.
Seymour Hoffman
Oh, he's so good.
is so good in
Kill
this
you.
movie. Yeah, and by the way, you said everything's 7 Degrees of Sean Penn, and he was on Mark Maron's podcast, and he was talking about how Paul Thomas Anderson actually offered him the role for Philip Seymour Hoffman, but when he read the script, he was so drawn to Adam Sandler's character that he said he only wanted to play that character and he wouldn't play, so he didn't do it. But I'm so glad that didn't happen
It was
because
better
Adam,
with Adam Sandler, I think.
dude,
If it was Sean Penn, it would have been too intense.
the opening of this movie, oh yeah, it would have been. The opening of this movie and the whole car accident that happens on the street in the valley at like 6:30 in the morning when the sun's coming up, and then he takes this piano, and then
It's just so random.
And then there's all these phone calls coming in, and then they're like, dude, how many sisters do you have? And he's like, I have 9 sisters, you know?
And he's
like,
he's kind of this innocent, like there's something really great about his performance because he's just kind of
he's
like
so contained. He's so contained. He's trying not to like open up to anybody really.
And if it was Sean Penn, it would have been it would have been way too intense.
Oh, it wouldn't have.
Because his anger would have been like not. What's great about his anger in this movie is you're like, wow, look where'd that come from? Because he's just this kind of mild mannered.
Right. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy, like to a flaw. Yeah, totally. And then who's the guy that works at his warehouse with him? He's in so many Paul Thomas Anderson films.
Yeah, I forget.
But
the premise of the movie alone is just so hilarious that
it's a true story.
Yeah, he's like, I found a flaw in your marketing. You know, it's like if you buy, you get 500 miles for every healthy choice meal you buy, and he's like,
right,
you know.
And then he finds out that the puddings are 5 cents, and they individually, swipe them with the SKU bars, and he's like,
the code is on each one. So he's like, he's like, you spend $3,000, you get 1 million miles, you can run.
But it isn't until he finally starts opening up to her because he loves her that he shares that with her, because everybody's like, dude, why are you getting the pudding? And he doesn't like really tell anybody, and he's like,
it's so weird,
you know. And he's even so nice to that girl when she calls back in the morning after he has the phone sex with her. And she's like, hey, can I have some money? And he's like, oh, yeah, no. He says, oh, yeah, no. And it's like, he's such a nice guy that he actually says yes to a question he's trying to say no to.
Oh,
like so well written.
You know, it's like, okay. And then he's like, oh, it's so one passive. Of these. It's.
And then, like, you know what do you think of those? I think they're dope and just fucking cool and kind of this like magical, trippy, romantic thing where it has those little like moments where there's those interludes with the colors. Aren't those cool? Like there's all those pinks and blues that show up. Like
it's like the whole Hawaii thing is all very pink and.
Yeah, but there's like these 2 different montages that come in for like 30 seconds, and they're just like these orchestral music playing in the background with different strings, and then these lights come in. It's almost like that scene in the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's really funny and weird.
Yeah.
Why he chose to do that.
Well, you know who I think are you thinking about? Luis Guzman?
Yeah, dude. He is the fucking man, dude. One of the best character actors around.
He's bad. He makes every movie better just by being in it.
By the way, he's great in an Adam Sandler movie called Anger Management, dude. He's fucking hilarious. He plays a psycho.
He's funny. He's so great. Like he's just like he's great in The Limey. He's great in like Traffic. Anything he's in is just amazing.
Yeah, he's great in Boogie Nights. He's in a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson films.
And he's just funny because he's got like this comedy to him. I don't know what it was.
His face makes you smile. His face just makes me smile. When I see him in a movie, I'm like, yes. I'm always like, yeah. In
Community. I don't know if you remember, but in Community, Luis Guzman there's a statue of Luis Guzman in Community because he's like the most famous person that went to community, like whatever community college. It's what I forget the name of it.
Right.
And it's just so funny because there's a statue of Luis Guzman with his big pot belly, and it's just he's so funny.
Yeah, he's great. He really is great. So this movie has one of my like, I mean, I just told you it's my top 10 like favorite romance movie. But it has maybe the funniest scene I think in any movie ever. And it's the scene when he finally goes out on a date with her, and then they're sitting down and she relays the story that he's ashamed of, which is when he broke a window or something, or like he threw a hammer. He threw a hammer at the family story. And so he gets so fucking mad. He gets up, he goes to the bathroom, he beats up the bathroom at this like nice Italian restaurant in the valley.
Totally destroys the bathroom.
And then he comes back, he sits down, and then fucking like the maitre d' or whoever it is like comes over to him and like pulls him aside. And he's like, that conversation, I don't even want to repeat it because it's like I don't want to ruin it for anybody that hasn't seen it.
Yeah, he's like, sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. He's like, you can't prove I did anything.
No, yeah. I didn't do it. He said, sir, why is your hand bleeding? I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. And it's so
I didn't do anything. And it's so funny. It's
one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen. Every time I see that, I'm laughing hysterically. I just think it's so well written and so well acted. And whoever that guy is that plays that fucking character that's working at the restaurant that tells him to leave. That guy's fucking great. I love that dude. If I ever see that guy, I'm probably gonna give him a hug. That dude made me laugh so much, dude.
Like, so he's so deadpan.
And at the end, he's like, "Please don't do this. Please don't do this."
Yeah, please.
Well, yeah, it's got great colors. There's all these pink reds and all these like sky blues and dark blues, and these two colors just work. And you know.
And I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I mean, I think I run hot on cold on him too, because I feel like sometimes his movies are way too much for me. They're way too deep of a character study. And I'm just like, okay. But like Magnolia, I love Magnolia. I love like,
right.
You know, we need to do a whole thing on him. I don't want to get too deep into P.T. Anderson, but
I don't either. But
that's why I love this movie.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. I'm different than you. I don't run hot and cold on him at all because I think he's I think he's a Stanley Kubrick of the closest thing to anybody like that for his generation.
Yeah,
every movie he makes is incredible.
You know, part of me feels like, oh yeah, I gotta believe. You know, he's the master. I gotta believe it, and he did The Master as well. But I gotta.
That's my favorite movie of his.
I gotta like everything he does, and I don't. I just, I gotta be honest. There's sometimes. Like There Will Be Blood. It just feels like too much Daniel Day-Lewis. If you can,
right. But we're gonna save this for another Paul Thomas Anderson episode. Yeah.
All right.
But back to Punch Drunk Love. I mean, how great is the Philip Seymour Hoffman scenes? You know,
like, he's so great. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. He's like,
when he says like, what does he say? Shut up, like 8
just
times.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut the fuck! And he just keeps going and going and going.
He goes, fuck you or something. He says fuck you to him, and the guy goes,
oh, no.
Fuck me?
Oh no, you didn't.
You didn't.
Did you say that? Oh, you're fucking dead.
That's like one of my favorite scenes by Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's just so great. He just loses his
Can you imagine how much fun you have as an actor to be able to do that scene? I mean, and then look at how different that role is versus the last movie he did, Boogie Nights, when he's just like, right,
the innocent, the fanboy. Who's in love with,
amazing contrast in those performances and how
Mark
much fun he
Wahlberg.
probably had with both of them. That guy's incredible. He deserves his own episode too, man.
Yeah, we should do it. I would love to do a show on just him because like there's so many great movies he did, and he's great in Nobody's Fool. Like,
well, that's what I was just gonna say. Like he comes around a lot for us. Like we bring him up because there's it's crazy to forget how often he is like in so many amazing movies for so many years, and he's remarkable. He's a remarkable actor. He's a remarkable
actor.
Such
a bummer to lose him.
I mean, is he in the top like 25 or 50 greatest actors of all time?
For me,
I would say. For me,
but,
would he get as high as 25 for you?
Yeah,
I think he might.
Probably because I love him so much. It's like there's not that many actors I go like when you see him, you're just that's awesome. I didn't like Tinker Tailor soldier spy. It was just too
He wasn't.
straightforward
He
spy
wasn't in that.
movie.
You were thinking of the most wanted man is
Yeah.
what
Oh,
you're
Most
thinking of.
Wanted. Most Wanted.
Yeah,
That
that
wasn't
was
it.
the last one he did. Hey, but it was a great accent and it was a pretty cool character. I
I
like the
mean, he
one when
was
he does.
definitely. It was very. It's a very actor movie. Like it was very. It was very like he became that role, and it was not the most interesting movie, but he was
Yeah,
great in it.
he was great in it. He was great in it. That movie was a little flawed, plot wise. I didn't fully dig it, but yeah, he's missed, man.
But he had
Um,
such a sense of humor to him. Kind of, it's like he's another one that makes a movie better just by being in it. You know.
yeah, I love the ending of Punch Drunk Love because what it stands for and what it represents, like when he goes up and he has the confrontation with Philip Seymour Hoffman, and then they have that funny moment where they're leaving and he comes back because he talks some shit, and then
Right.
he's like, he tells him, he's like, you can't hurt me. He's like, because I have a love that's more powerful than anything, and he's like, and that's all I forget what he says. He's like, I have a love that's more powerful than anything, and that's all that I need, or something. But I just love the movie's
Right.
sweet, man. It's really
It is
sincere.
sweet.
It's really sweet.
But even when
It's
he says that,
fucked
you're
up
like,
too.
he's so self-deluded, like he's just
Right.
kind of lost.
I mean, he
But
gets kidnapped
you
and
believe,
beaten by two guys. He gets yelled at. He gets like financially, try to get. There's fraud that happens on his account because of this call girl that it's like there's so
just
much
wanted
like
to talk to
fucked up
somebody.
shit, fucked up shit that happens in the movie, but it's still he's such a sweet guy. You just like you hope that it works out with them and that he doesn't like continue to lose his shit.
And it's
But
all very real, It's like just the stupid fraud from his credit card.
yeah,
It becomes a big thing. It may not in real life be that, but all the time that's what those card things are set up for. Give us your phone, your credit card
right,
number, and then they run, $500 on
right.
it. And you're like,
Right, right.
instead
It's like,
of
what is this guy's an idiot? He's giving
he's
his
like,
social over to some girl on a freaking 1-800 number. It's like, what are
just
you
like, don't be a
doing?
sap, don't be a sap.
Right. And I have to mention because it actually will come back around when we talk about Uncut Gems. There's a scene where the music and the movement of the camera is this frantic thing where like there's a pallet in the warehouse that drops and breaks, and his sister comes in and is like interrogating him about coming to the family dinner that night, and this music in the background is playing very tensely, and it's basically an uncut shot for almost like 10 minutes or so, but you get a sense of how much, as contained and sweet as he is, he's living with so much of like anxiety, and
Right.
it's so well encapsulated with the music, with the movement of the camera, and then the way that these characters are like they're almost like uh berating him, they're almost like you feel bad for him, because he just wants to be with that piano, but this girl's calling and she's like, I'm gonna fucking don't cancel your credit card. Then this girl coming in that he likes, that
And
all
he's
this
got to
shit's
do it. He's got
happening.
to explain it. Yeah. You know what I like? I also feel like he's kind of on the spectrum because he was dealing
Oh,
with nine
totally,
sisters.
totally.
And so he's got these nine sisters that he's just constantly like, you feel the stress of them just
Right,
being around him all the time. And like he's internalized it. And then that explosion, that's why the explosion in the bathroom is so great. Cause it's not a big story, but
no,
it just shows how long he's been internalizing all of
right,
this
right.
stuff from this
And then
having
in the
nine.
background, it's like there's the microphone. Barry, your sister's online too. Barry, so, and then the guy's like, how many sisters do you have? And then he does that thing, and he's like, these actually we just got in, and they don't break. And he smashes it, and it breaks. And he says, oh, that one's defective. It's like
Doesn't work.
it's not really working out for him, but it kind of is. And he's putting on this suit because he wants to have this like appearance. And his sister's like, why are you wearing the suit? Like,
You're in a warehouse, it's
yeah,
like,
like what are you doing? It's such a great movie. I love that movie so much. It's so original and so quirky, and it really is sweet.
yeah,
I'm so glad we're talking about it. It's one of my faves.
and you said it's like one of your favorite romance movies because it's a quirky romance, and I definitely connect with that kind of weird, broken, want it to be romantic yet it's not quite working out. And my other favorite, which I want to do another time, is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, that's a darker side of the romance, but
But
yeah, that's in
but
my top 10
it's
list too.
but it's
Yeah,
true love. It's like,
yeah.
well, you know what? This is what we got.
Man,
And
that was one of the best movie theater experiences I've ever had, seeing that movie in theaters. That movie really like uh that's an incredible film. Yeah, that movie we have to do our own episode on, man. I love we're talking everything we're talking about. We've got to do a Philip Seymour Hoffman episode, P.T. Anderson episode,
that's why we do
and
this.
Eternal Sunshine. And you know what would be cool is if we do if the way we're doing Adam Sandler, we could do Jim Carrey. We could talk about that in Truman Show.
Yeah, I mean, good. That's another one that like a mainstream comedian who has like amazing performances as a dramatic actor. It's like the Robin Williams effect. Drew Carey.
Right.
I mean, not Drew Carey.
Drew Carey, yeah, the Drew
not
Carey.
Drew Carey.
Right.
The other guy's not done a good dramatic turn yet. But yeah. So, which brings us to, do you want to move on to the next one?
All right. So the next one to talk about is Uncut Gems, because that's like a really out of the box Adam Sandler performance, right? That's really
yeah. I mean, that's
really good.
It's one of his, it's like a dramatic turn where the comedy is just, that why it works so well in Punch Drunk Love is because you're this kind of haphazard dude. His quirkiness is just interesting and funny.
So you're not supposed to like Uncut Gems, right? That's agreed, right? Like as an audience,
I don't think you're supposed to like it because I didn't like it at all. Like,
but
I love it. Like,
but you love it because you appreciate what it's doing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a great movie that it's like one of those ones that makes you so uncomfortable you don't want to see it again. Like,
right. We talked about
like
that.
Requiem for a Dream, or
I don't think I'm going to see it for 25 years.
I'd watch it again just because one of my questions was, I was like, the music was terrible in the beginning.
But it works in unison to create the discomfort.
Yeah, I know it's intentional, but still you can have cacophonous music that makes you tense without it being bad. And I don't know. It's a choice, right?
Right. Well,
definitely.
I thought it was one bad choice after another, and not just from the protagonist character and then everybody else was like righteous, but like everybody was just making bad decisions, like the wife choosing to have him go up to his apartment where he keeps his woman on the side with his son. It's like, she knows there's a girl up there. Like, why are you telling her?
Why are you doing that? All of it. Like,
that's just a small example, but like this character, I love this character because like he exists. Like there's a lot of them. Like this Jewish New York obsessed with the Knicks. Fucking gaudy ass jewelry.
Yeah.
Like he's putting some fucking nasty product in his hair.
It's like that cultural kind of like there's the diamond merchant. Those guys who are really into the flash, and they're like, okay, here's my gold chain because I gotta have a gold chain because I gotta represent so I can sell my diamonds.
Right. And then he still is like, you could see that he's like, living. There's some cool like subtle moments with his dad, who's played by the brilliant what's his name? Fucking from Ordinary People and Running on Empty. Jewish, amazing. He plays a therapist in Ordinary People. Why am I blanking on his name right now?
He's the guy who's in
What's his fucking
Barney
name?
Miller. He's in Barney Miller, and
wasn't he also in Taxi?
He was in Taxi. What's his name?
Oh, come on. I can't believe we don't remember his name right now. This is embarrassing. He's such a great actor.
Onto my name, onto my head here. I'm going to come up. I'm looking it up.
You're looking it up? Okay. But he has this like, desire to seeking approval from his father, right? Like, you get that sense that he has a good connection with his dad, but his dad's like, he's never really doing very well. He borrows all this fucking money from his dad, and then like his dad's left to have to pay it, and he says he's gonna pay him back, and then half an hour later he's throwing money out the window to his girlfriend. It's just like so many bad decisions. And
everything he does, everything you're like, no, and it's kind of supported. Like even the people who are like, you really want to, and it's kind of because
the guy that he takes the rings to, right?
When he gives the rings, you're kind of like, he knows it's a bad decision. He goes, but I'm going to end up with the ring, so whatever. If you want to fucking make a bad decision, then I win. I get the ring.
And he still kind of gives him a little leeway. Like he's like, I told you if he had to come back by Saturday, but it's like Monday, and he's like, he's still being nice to him. It's like.
Right.
There's so many opportunities to sort of get out of this thing.
For a minute there, I thought he was like, "Oh, you're done." It's Monday. You're out.
Right.
It's my ring now. But he didn't.
Right.
But he kind of let him.
Hey,
Judd Hirsch. Judd Hirsch plays
Judd
the father.
Hurst.
Yeah.
Judd Hurst.
Yeah, he's so great.
He's the man, dude. He's so great. He's so great.
So
He does a great job casting his fathers. You know, he gets Dustin Hoffman and he gets Judd Hirsch. Like every once in a while, it's just like, oh yeah, that's perfect. Like
yeah.
those two work as father and son.
But the great casting was of Eric Bogosian because of you just think it's the guy who's putting the pinch on him for so long. He's just the guy
Right.
who's squeezing him, and he's like this evil, money lender. And then it turns out he's at dinner with him, and you're just like, oh my God.
And it's his brother-in-law, and you don't know that until 3/4 of the way through the film. You're like,
I love that reveal. There were two reveals I really loved in this movie. That reveal, and then when you realize that his girlfriend really loves him.
right, and she doesn't take the money. She actually does everything that he asks. She bets on what he says.
Yeah.
And
she gets a tattoo of his name on her ass, and you're just like, she really loves him. It's like she's not just a money grubbing like.
It does such a great job of playing against the audience's expectations with multiple characters. So you just have this crazy weaving of like, oh, I didn't expect that. And it's like, movies do that thing where it's like, we're going to trick you. And you're like, dude, I know you're going to trick me. And it's not a trick.
But it wasn't like that
they
at all.
They really did it in this really cool way. It was up.
It wasn't like a trick. It was just like, oh, this is the way it developed. It's like, I watched a movie, I forget what it was, but halfway through the movie, you realize this guy's in a wheelchair. And I'm like, wow, they kept that. They didn't make it a big deal. It didn't matter to the plot. I think it was in, God, what was that? Choose Me or something. And it was like, there was this moment when you realized that one of the main characters was in a wheelchair and you just never noticed. And it was like, I thought that was really cool. And this movie did it to me a couple of times. And, all these choices were intentional, like the bad music at the beginning. It's just like, making you uncomfortable. And you're like, oh God, don't do that. Everything he's doing, you're like, don't do that.
Right. Yeah, it's great. I also, big shout out to Kevin Garnett, who I love. I know you're not a huge sports fan, but I love basketball.
He's great in it.
And I love him. He's a great athlete and he's a good guy, and he's become a good commentator with Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. He's a pretty funny guy. So it was cool. It was cool that like they got him in it, and they also like, what I hate sometimes is when you watch a movie and they like didn't get the approval by like the NFL or the NBA, and it's like some fake league. It's like, this is fucking stupid. Like, just make it in the real world.
A Canadian league or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But
that was great.
There was a couple, like, I think this movie continually surprised me with.
Yeah.
Like, there were little things, like I kept thinking, like, and it wasn't big twists. I'm so tired of the big twist, but there was little things like you never thought he was going to get back the rock, right? The gems.
And he gets right. And he gets
them back. And you're like, oh, I thought he was just never going to get when he fucked up. And when he gives it to Kevin Garnett, you're like, no, don't.
Yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah.
And then you were saying.
No, that's. I'm sorry, I'm getting excited and kind of interjecting. We're talking about not doing that. But it's like it happens again when he bets on the trifecta, and then it's like they have to win the tip off. Like they have to get the possession.
You're like, no.
Oh, dude, why would you bet on that? Like, bet on like this guy getting over 20 points. That's fine, but and it works out.
And he's just so stupid. He's got him trapped in his, like, they're sitting right there while he's
That's
like,
the best scene of the movie.
And he's lording it over them. It's like, come on, man, I'm gonna do this.
And they're
he's
sitting
like,
in there just sweating and waiting, and then like
so painful, so painful. And but also like the way he got into Kevin Garnett's head, like, and it was like he kind of like in a way manipulated him. He's like, dude, they can't take this away from you. It's like they're talking shit about you. So he kind of
right.
The fire going.
Right. I love that. I forgot about that part. That's a great scene. The other great scene is when like Kevin Garnett at the end of the movie, when he gives it back to him, he's like kind of interrogating him on why he's gonna sell it to him for so much more. And he's like, dude, when you go in to get your contract extension with your, the basketball team that you're playing for, it's like you upsell yourself. He's like, well, that's what I do too, and I'm upselling to you.
Right.
And it's like this whole thing. It's like, well, he's not wrong by that.
Yeah, but it was interesting. Like what you say, it was kind of like he's saying, "Well, are you ripping off these poor Ethiopian dudes?" And he's like, "No, it's like it's a business. They're getting rich off of what I just gave them $100,000 is a fortune to them." And he's
Right.
like, "And I do my upsell," like he said. And
And then you're
it's for a moment there, I was like, "Oh, he is kind of an asshole." And then you're like, "Well, no, maybe not."
right. Yeah, you see him with his dad and stuff, and like he's not a bad guy. And then you see that he really does love his girlfriend. I told you that one part when he throws the money out the window and then he looks at her and he says, "I'm gonna fuck the shit out of you later." Like I
Right.
just think that's one of the best Adam Sandler lines. You'd never expect that to come out of his mouth, but he says it with so much. He means it, right? Like
Right. And you
so
think she's
great.
gonna run off with the money. You're like, okay,
Right.
now she's got the
Right.
money and
And
she's
I'm like, why would he say that to her? Like she's gonna run off with the money. Like she's like, this guy is like
gonna
just,
fuck the
you know,
shit out of you.
yeah. But somehow they have this weird relationship that works.
But there was so I think that movie did surprise me, not in uh the big the big turn, but I mean the end is the big turn, which I'm not going to say because I think everybody
Yeah,
should see this movie. But
I think they should
it's
too.
just like this movie's so hard to watch, and then in a weird way it's gratifying because you know it's a sad ending, but at the same time, you're like, well, it's never not going to work out for this guy anyway. He's just
Right,
constantly making bad choices,
right,
you know.
right. Yeah, yeah. For sure, we can't say the ending. But he won the Independent Spirit Award for this performance
Yeah,
as Best Actor, and it is one of the best performances of last year, and I'd say it's one of the best movies that came out last year. I don't think it's better than Honey Boy, but I like Honey Boy more. It's not better or worse, but
right.
I think it's
Do you
definitely
like
top.
Parasite more?
No, I like Uncut Gems more.
Yeah, I like Uncut Gems more too, but I think that I'm not sure why Parasite got so. I mean, it obviously won.
Again, it has this thing that I love that you and I always connect around, this Cassavetes grittiness a little bit. You know, that guy that he pawns the rings to. We
This
talked
definitely
about
felt
this.
like a Cassavetes movie.
You know, these characters that he gets, they're beyond just character actors. They literally just feel like real people that he decided to put in a movie, or these. And then you should tell about the director, because this is a
Well,
personal
yeah. So
story, right?
evidently, the director that's his family story. Like him and his brother are the co-directors, and they come from Diamond family, and they were big, huge Knicks fans. So it's
Right,
kind of like it's like this is the life they led. That's why it feels so real, and why it feels like a Cassavetes film. It's like this is a
right.
lifestyle. You're like getting a peek into. It's not some fake version. It's like these are the people we know. These are like this is the bar mitzvah we went to. This is the lifestyle that we lived, and so that's why I think it has so much authenticity to it.
Yeah. I mentioned this to you when we were talking about doing this movie on this episode, about how the movie that it most closely reminded me of, the Cassavetes is in this. He didn't direct it. It's Elaine May that directed it, but Mikey and Nikki, and the discomfort that you get on that whole night of like, John Cassavetes' character is going to get killed. You just don't know if it's going to be his best friend, Peter Falk, that's going to do it. But there's this like discomfort in these scenes. And, you know, it reminded me of that in a really good way. It's its own unique movie, but it reminded me of that. I think it's a really cool choice to try to make a 2-hour film for an audience that is inherently trying to make the audience uncomfortable, and isn't doing it in like these little like, here's the twist, kind of bullshit
Right.
way, but is really just like, hey, these characters are fucked up, and this is the world we live in. It's messy, and people are doing stupid shit with money like all the time.
It's interesting. There was a couple of things that I read about this. One was that it was Julia Fox, the chick, who plays the girlfriend.
Dude, so hot, dude.
It was her
So hot,
idea
dude.
to get his name tattooed on her ass. That was her idea, which I think is pretty interesting because it's like that's who the character was.
Right, right.
He's so sad. He's like,
Well, they've
oh,
already no. They've already broken up in that scene too.
yeah.
They're already broke up, and she comes in his office and says, "Baby, I got a tattoo of you," and he's like, "Oh," and then like they just
But then what I love
reconnect.
it's so sad because he's so Jewish. It's like, oh, we can't be buried together now.
Right. Yeah. You love that
It's
line.
like you
Yeah. That
can't,
line is
because you
funny.
can't, in the Jewish religion, you can't have any tattoos. It's like
Right.
not.
Right. It's
So
not
it's
okay.
kind of, to me, there's just a sad, this sweet sadness to it. He's like, oh, we can't be buried together now. I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
what?
Like
That's your
yeah.
big problem?
Right. Right.
And there's
It's
like so, and then another
really,
thing is that they rigged the the diamond case to shatter on its own. They didn't tell Kevin Garnett when it was going to happen, so that it was like a real surprise to him. So if you watch the reaction, it's like, oh, he actually didn't know when it was going to happen. So I
oh,
think he
that's
knew it
cool.
was going to happen, but he didn't know
Right.
when.
That's cool. I like that. I didn't read that. That's awesome. Um, you know, I think we need to mention, I want to mention two more Adam Sandler movies, and we don't have to go deep into them, but this one is definitely on the list of his great performances in a different movie is the Meyerowitz Stories, which just came out last year on Netflix. That was the Noah Baumbach movie that he did with Dustin Hoffman and Ben Stiller.
Yeah,
Great,
I love that
great
movie too. That
movie.
was great. That was actually great. At first, I was like, okay, this is going to be way too like, you know, I don't know. I felt like it was going to be this negative Jewish, like hating itself, Jewish
Yeah,
stuff. But actually, it's well done.
it really was well done. I thought it was cool the way it was presented too, because it really did feel like this like book of short stories by somebody like J.D. Salinger, or I mean, I know he's not Jewish, but like
Right. But they're
somebody
linked.
like
Yeah.
there's just the way that it was like told. It felt like you were watching a book.
It's interesting. I saw the Uncut Gems and I saw these are two Oscar nominated movies. I didn't see Knives Out and Uncut Gems. And I
Knives
don't know
Out, I
if
didn't like.
I didn't like Knives Out either. And I was like,
I'm
wow.
not a fan of those movies though. My oldest brother loved and he loves those kind of like the mystery who did it movies. I
Right.
think they're fucking dumb.
But it's funny to me because I was really excited about seeing it because I knew it was Oscar nominated, and
Yeah.
Uncut Gems I knew was Oscar nominated, and I have such a different reaction to both of them. One was like I felt like Knives Out was so cliche. It was like the oldest type, Agatha Christie thing, even though they
Just
made her a
bullshit.
nice person.
It almost feels like a placeholder, bro. Like they have to fill 5 slots for the best comedies in these
Right.
categories, and it's like, okay, that one fits in. It's like this movie doesn't even deserve to be in there. Like it's not. I didn't think it was that great.
It was a great cast, but it
It
didn't.
was a great cast.
But you
It was
didn't
a
really
great
get
cast.
to see like there was kind of like I don't know. It felt like you said, it felt formulaic. It felt like all those Agatha Christie stories. The same thing. The only difference with this one was the twist is that she was a nice girl and
Right.
she never meant to do any harm, and that's what saved her in the end. And to me, that's just kind of like, okay, well, that's just a twist on the old favorite, but it's like, how many times do you have to see Murder on the Orient Express or
Right. 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 And you
I
know what?
know
I'd rather see Kenneth Branagh do it than see whoever made Knives Out, because it felt like Knives Out was
it was
trying to do this
It was Ryan Johnson who did the
yeah.
Star Trek
It,
movie. I mean Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah, the eighth one, yeah. It felt like the Agatha Christie thing that you're talking about, and that like Murder on the Orient Express. It
Right.
also felt like it was trying to mimic, and it didn't feel original. A little bit of like a Wes Anderson, and it's like, dude, fuck you, man. Like,
Right. A
you know
little
what I
bit of
mean? It
the
was like
quirky
quirky
family.
characters, Michael
Quirky family, yeah,
Shannon,
right.
and Christopher Plummer, and all these different characters that are just kind of like really
But not
different.
interesting enough, right?
Because
They
they
like,
didn't spend any time with them. You didn't really. They were all in service to the mystery, and it wasn't
and it
fun.
was like all the same, like they the whatever the interrogation from, and I actually didn't like Daniel Craig in it, and I liked Daniel Craig, and I just felt
I
like
do too. I do
it
too,
was
and I
just
didn't
like a
like him in
kind
it.
of bland performance. And so that's one of those movies where I feel like it was Ryan Johnson who did Star Wars, so he's got a big, everybody's like knows who he is, and all these great actors, but it was like a B- movie with great cast and a big time director, so all they
Logan's
have to pay
Lucky.
attention
Logan's
to it.
Lucky is way better than
Lucky Logan or
I
Logan
think it's
Lucky,
Logan's
Logan
Lucky.
Lucky.
Okay,
And
no
it's so much more of
apostrophe
an
s.
interesting performance by Daniel
Craig.
Craig, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just a better movie all the way around. But I don't know, that whole thing, we've talked about this where they have the drama and comedy. Like whenever you see the 5 comedy films, there's always 2, sometimes even 3 placeholders. It's just like, dude, they really weren't that great. Why the fuck are they in there?
But if I had seen Uncut Gems, I would have voted for it for Best Picture because it was so interesting and original and like
It
good
was.
filmmaking. And at the same time, I hated watching it.
Right, right. And you know what,
Uncomfortable the
dude?
whole time.
You don't even need to read this in an interview to know this. If Adam Sandler wasn't attached to that movie, it wouldn't have gotten made. And so
Yeah.
kudos to that motherfucker for like standing behind a great story and an awesome movie and a well-told story that's just unique and different. And it's awesome. I wish he
Well,
would do more
Adam
stuff like
Sandler's
that.
wife convinced him to to do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she had seen Good Time. She read the screenplay and saw Good Time, which is the movie that the Safdie
Yep.
brothers made before.
That's
And
Robert Pattinson. Good
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I
good
think they
movie.
were gonna do. I thought was Robert Pattinson gonna play this role because that wouldn't have worked. It just wouldn't have
No,
worked.
it wouldn't have worked. He's not old enough, and he
And he's
just
not
like,
Jewish enough. It's like
yeah, yeah.
it's such a Jewish story. It's like you have to have,
Robert Pattinson just needs to work on playing Batman right. If that's all he needs to do for the next couple of years.
you can't win with that role. He's gonna, I don't know. I
Let's give it a chance. Well, let's hope they make it a little bit more comic booky, and they can have these crazy characters like Killer Croc or Clayface, and just go off and not have it just be too realistic. Like, don't try to like imitate the realism that Christopher Nolan already expressed. Go
right.
in a different direction. You know.
Yeah, but don't go Tim Burton. Don't
No,
go,
you don't go Tim Burton either. Tim Burton is like
you know,
costumey and a little
campy.
fantastical,
They got to get
a
away from the campy
little
part.
gothic. Yeah, you can go a little more cartoony with it. And
But if you go between Joker and Christopher Nolan, that might be an interesting, like a little more of a
right,
human drama, because
yeah, that's what's great
Christopher
about
Nolan's this
Joker.
dark, big melodrama, you
Right.
know, and then
Yeah.
Joker's too realistic. Like that was another movie that's hard to watch. It's the same thing where it's just somebody with obvious problems, and you're
Right.
watching him just devolve.
Yeah, that movie I own. I own it digitally. Wish I had a copy of that.
I wish you had the
So
case for it.
last Adam Sandler movie.
I'll make you a little case for it.
Last Adam Sandler movie I want to mention. This is one that I don't know what reason people don't seem to know this movie, or it's just kind of people missed it. The movie The Cobbler with Adam Sandler is one of the best movies he did. It's Dustin
Isn't it
Hoffman
the one
plays
where
his
he
dad.
makes shoes for people? It's like
Yeah, but
he
there's a
lives their
magic shoe
lives.
machine. There's a magic shoe machine in his basement, and what happens is when he fixes or sews a shoe on that machine, he then can put on the shoes and be other people. And it is so much fun, dude. It's such a great movie.
Really.
It's really ridiculous, and Dustin Hoffman plays his dad in it. It's great, and Steve Buscemi's in it. So it's a really good one.
I saw it and it's forgettable to me, but
Really,
I just felt like it was the putting on the shoes and being in another man's life for a minute. It
it's
didn't,
fun.
I don't know.
Yeah, it
Maybe
was
I was
fun.
just not in the mood for it. Meyerowitz stories, loved it.
Yeah.
Murder
Well, those are
Murder
his
Mystery
three,
Murder
right?
Mystery came out. That was terrible. Like
No, I
that
didn't. I
one,
didn't watch.
it was interesting because I watched it because it was just on, right? It was
They
there.
have great chemistry together, though. You have to acknowledge that Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler have great chemistry with each other.
Yeah, but it's not a great plot, and that's it's another one like Knives Out. It's a murder mystery, and it was kind of dopey
Yeah, but you're
people.
watching it like you might be like you maybe 20 years ago when you were watching an episode of Friends. Like you're not going there for like being moved and like expanding your, I don't know.
Oh, it's
You're just
candy. It's not the main
yeah,
course. It's the candy.
yeah. It's
The,
just candy shit. But
it's
I
art.
think he finally finished that. He had a contract with Netflix and he was doing like 5 movies for them. So I think he's finally done from that contract.
Oh, you mean there's
And
not going to be a Grown Ups 3? Because
uh,
there's so many questions left by Grown Ups 2. I
you know
just
what's bullshit about grown-ups in general is that the funniest dude in all of that shit has always been Norm Macdonald, and he still doesn't That guy is the mountaintop when it comes to all those the comedy guys from
You
Saturday Night
love
Live.
Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, he's funnier. I mean, it's Norm Macdonald, then it's Chris Rock, then it's Chris Farley, then it's Phil Hartman. Adam Sandler might not even be in the top 5 from that generation of Saturday Night Live in terms of comedy genius.
I think we're gonna relate every movie eventually will come either to Sean Penn or Norm
McDonald,
Macdonald
John
or
Cassavetes.
Ken Cassavetes. Somehow it's gotta. I
It's
don't
got to
know.
tie back. I'll try. I'll try a bit harder
No,
to
I
know
don't.
more.
No,
Um,
no, I like it. I actually think that the 5 degrees of Sean Penn is kind of cool because it's like a game. Because honestly, he's another one that makes movies better by being in it. He's so intense, and it's like you take an average movie and you put him in it, and it's great. It
oh
elevates
yeah,
it to great.
yeah.
So
There was a Hulu show he did on like the first exploration to Mars, and it was if they had gotten Dylan McDermott, the show would have sucked, dude. You know, like it wouldn't have been good. But because he was in it, it was like the dramatic scenes were elevated to a much better level. Yeah, it's true. It happens, you know. Adam Sandler though is the fucking man, dude. He's cool. He's he seems like he's a good dude. He does seem like he's a good dude. He takes care of his friends, puts his friends in movies. Like I think that's awesome. He has his own company where he gets to make the movies that he wants. His movies are generally
I think
focusing
he's the
on making people
luckiest.
happy.
I think he's funny, but he's also the luckiest motherfucker out there. The fact that
Sure.
he gets to do that with his friends and all that, and they're not. He makes movies that aren't that great, and they make money.
Hmm.
It's So
Yeah.
I'm not an Adam Sandler fan, but when he's doing straight acting, for some reason I really like him. You
Yeah.
know, wasn't
Yeah.
he in Funny People? Like, wasn't that another movie that
That movie wasn't very good, and it was a Judd Apatow movie, I believe.
I think
Judd
I kind of
Apatow
like
directed that.
funny. I think I like Funny People. I don't
You
remember.
know, I find all that funny as Seth Rogen.
I don't like Seth Rogen, but that's he's he's mainstream.
Adam Sandler's the fucking man, dude. He's fucking funny. He's cool. My wife doesn't think there's some people that just don't like vibe with him. He's
Yeah,
it's like bro humor, you know? It really is. It's just like infantile kind of like funny boy humor, like, you know,
he
if
gets away with
peeing your
murder.
pants is cool, then consider me Miles Davis. You know, like that's just pretty funny.
That's a good
That's like
impersonation.
an old ass grandma saying that she basically shit her pants. Like, what the fuck? That's funny.
Okay, but I can tell you from his top movies, I'm just there. I'm not an Adam Sandler fan. Like his movies in general don't do it for me. So
I
that
get
I
it.
mean that's fine because I can appreciate him as well.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like
More straight acting, Adam, because you've got the chops, bro. You're good. You're
Meyerowitz. He
fucking
was
funny.
great. You said you liked him in The Cobbler. I don't remember that. Um,
I like that movie.
and the Ridiculous Six. I didn't like that.
I
But
didn't watch
it's
that.
you
Yeah.
it's like
So it's
uh,
Punch Drunk Love, Uncut Gems, Meyerowitz Stories, and then Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison.
so there you go. But I think this is a good example of a movie that when we're talking about Uncut Gems that wasn't popular enough to get the Oscar, but was good enough. You know, I don't think
Get
it
the
would,
nomination, to get the
yeah, to get
recognition,
the
to get
nomination.
on like the list of, top 10 movies. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, what does it take? I mean, why was this not as good as Parasite? You know,
Who won Best Actor this year?
I don't know who did win Best Actor. Wasn't it Brad Pitt? No, it was Best Supporting. Um,
Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor.
Joaquin, that was great. He was great
Right.
in
Right.
Joker, but that's another movie that's hard to watch.
Laura Dern won for supporting, and then who won Best Actress?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. I remember that the acting one categories we when we talked about this a couple months ago, they were like locked down. Like there was no way that Adam Sandler's going to beat Joaquin Phoenix for Joker. Like that's clear as day who's winning that.
Right. I mean, that
But
was.
it's awesome that he
Oh,
got nominated, dude.
it was Renee Zellweger for
Judy.
Judy, and that was a good performance.
Hmm. Yeah.
She's somebody who's rebuilt her career from, from kind of on the outs to being the best Oscar winner. That's you gotta give her props for that.
Oh, for sure. She's a very talented actress, no doubt about it. What is a random movie you saw this past week or 2 weeks that you liked and enjoyed, or even if it's a rewatch or something?
I don't know, what did I watch that? I mean, I saw Knives Out, which I didn't like.
Right.
Um, what else? What have you been watching? I don't think I saw anything besides Knives Out.
I mentioned this already to you, and I think I did talk about it just briefly on our chat here earlier. But Stir Crazy, man. Sidney Poitier, Gene
Yeah,
Wilder. Sidney Poitier directed it. Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor. Hilarious movie.
that's a
One
good
of the
one.
best.
Let's spend a minute. Like, let's figure out let's both make a recommendation from the vault, and you can. I think that would be a
That's
good
my
recommendation.
recommendation. Watch Stir Crazy. One of the funniest movies ever made. Gene Wilder is brilliant in it, and so is Richard Pryor.
I have to say, I'm gonna have to think about this for a second because I didn't.
Oh, cat got your tongue, huh?
I mean, it's like, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, you don't have to get all crazy about it.
No,
I,
no,
I
it's just
just
like
I
what
recommended a movie that people probably won't watch if they watch the trailer for it, but if they actually give it a try, it is hilarious.
Oh, you know what I really liked? Oh my God. So the movie I saw that I really liked this week was, and I can never think of the name because it's these two actors. It's so funny. It's uh Devi and Divine Meet the
Oh,
Apocalypse.
right. You told me about this
And
one. I
it's
haven't
so
watched it yet.
funny. It's a small budget. It's a comedian duo that do this. They are basically totally inept and they're sitting at home and the apocalypse happens and they're like, oh, electricity's out. What do we do? I guess we should eat everything in the fridge. And then they're like, well, things are really going to hell. Maybe we should get out of LA. And it's like, it's so lame. They're like the most lame people for the apocalypse. And then it's like how to do a low budget. The comedy is so sharp. It's really funny. They're a comedy duo. And they
I'm
have
gonna watch that this weekend because you really talked about it last weekend, and I mean, you're such a funny guy. I
it's
always appreciate your comedy, and you appreciate good comedy. So
you'll love it. You'll
it's
love it.
fun to watch a low budget comedy film that it's all
And
about
I
the
don't
writing,
know.
right?
I
Because
would not.
you don't have the facial recognition of some of these people. You just have to rely that it's fucking hilarious.
And I was just like on an apocalyptic thing, and I did a search for apocalypse, and this came up, but I wouldn't have heard about it. I didn't hear about it, and it's really
Say the
funny.
name one more time.
It's I got to look it up. It's
Is it
Devi and Divine Meet the Apocalypse or something. Let me see.
Debbie and
Devi
Divine meet the
and
apocalypse?
Divine.
Yeah,
Debbie.
even the cover of it looked pretty funny. But I mean, how hard is that to be that funny of a film and you don't have the facial recognition of like, oh, this guy's a comedy actor and he always makes me laugh. It's like you don't know these people, you know?
They have such a funny moment where they meet with an agent, and the agent says, he goes, "Oh well, you're not going to get any work as actors." It's like, and then he goes, did your movie make it into the Sundance? And it's like, no. How about Slam Dance? Or how about South by? And he's like, no. And they go, oh well, it's not going to do anything for you then. It's like nobody cares. he's so honest with them. It's really great.
That's awesome.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, I would love for you to watch Stir Crazy and
Danny,
I'll watch that and
Diana,
we should follow
Diane.
up on it.
See that this bugs me because the name is so hard to remember for me that it actually is like, why call it Diane and Divine Meet the Apocalypse? Because I can't even like I really thought it was funny and I can't find it. So it's
Hmm.
Danny and Divine Meet the Apocalypse. If they had just said Meet the Apocalypse,
Or
you could find it.
Demi and Dan meet the apocalypse. Something easy
Yeah,
to
like
remember. Yeah,
names, their first names,
yeah,
Etta and Gabe Meet the Apocalypse. Something, it's just, but it's really funny. So that's
nice.
my movie from the vault this week, this month, whatever, how many times we're going to do these. I don't
Right,
know. So,
right. Well, this one's been fun, man.
yeah.
It's always good talking with you. I'm glad we got a chance to connect around this Adam Sandler stuff and get like the different side of his career.
All right. So, all of you who are still listening, tune in for all those new episodes we're going to have.
That will be coming.
All of these are the upcoming episodes. So, get excited.
All right, man.
All right.